Hey, son, it is 1928. You push through the glass door of a corner diner, and the bell rings above your head. The smell hits you first. Coffee, grilled onions, cigarette smoke, and something sweet baking in the back. A man in a paper hat looks up from the griddle. A waitress wipes down the counter with a damp rag. The stools are full, but one opens up and you take it. No one looks at you twice. This is where you belong. Tonight, we are stepping into something warmer than your morning coffee and more reliable than your neighborhood grocer. 1920s diners. And before we go any further, if you are enjoying these trips back in time, take a second to hit that like button. Drop a comment letting me know where you are listening from, and subscribe if you have not already. Your support keeps these stories alive. Oh, and we are now live on Spotify. You will find the link down in the description. Check it out when you get a chance. Now here is what we are about to explore. What did scrambled eggs taste like when they cost a dime? How did a waitress remember 20 orders without writing anything down? What was it like to sit elbow to elbow with strangers and somehow feel less alone? Could you really get a full meal for under 50 cents? And if so, what did it taste like? Why did diners stay open all night when most of the world shut down at sunset? And what made that chrome counter feel like the center of the universe? It is 1928 now. The jukebox hums. A dish clatters in the back. Someone orders the blue plate special. And for the next hour, you are not just reading about it. You are there. You step off the sidewalk and through the glass door. The bell jingles. Inside, the air is thick with warmth and the smell of frying bacon. The counter runs the length of the room, chrome and marble, polished until it reflects the overhead lights. Behind it, a cook in whites works the flat-top grill, flipping eggs with a flick of his wrist. Every stool is taken except one, and you slide onto the vinyl seat without asking. A waitress appears with a coffee pot. She does not ask if you want any. She just pours. The first thing you notice is the warmth. Not just temperature, but the feeling of being somewhere that expects you. The door closes behind you and the cold street disappears. In here, the air wraps around you like an old coat. The steam rising from the grill mingles with cigarette smoke and the smell of fresh coffee brewing in the big steel urn behind the counter. It is a smell you will carry with you all day. The counter stretches along the right wall, a ribbon of chrome and white marble that catches every light in the room. 30 feet long, maybe more. Round stools line it, bolted to the black and white tile floor, each one upholstered in red vinyl that is cracked in places from years of use. Most of the stools are occupied. Men in work clothes, a woman in a wool coat, someone in a pressed suit reading a folded newspaper. They do not look up when you enter. This is not the kind of place where entrances are noted. You take the empty stool near the middle, between a man drinking coffee and another finishing a plate of scrambled eggs. The vinyl is still warm from whoever sat there before you. The counter in front of you is spotless, wiped clean between customers, and there is a napkin dispenser, a sugar jar, salt and pepper shakers, and a glass ashtray within easy reach. Everything you need is already there. Behind the counter, the cook works without pause. White apron, white paper hat, sleeves rolled to his elbows. The grill is his kingdom. 3 eggs crack in quick succession, yolks sliding onto the hot surface. He salts them without measuring, flips them with a spatula worn thin at the edges. To his left, bacon sizzles. To his right, hash browns turn golden brown in a pool of butter. He does not look stressed. He does not look hurried. He just works, steady and sure, the way a man does when he has done the same thing 1,000 times. The waitress materializes beside you before you have settled fully onto the stool. She is maybe 40, maybe 50. Her hair is pinned back under a small white cap. Her uniform is pale blue with white trim, and her apron has a few old stains that will never come out. She holds a coffee pot in one hand, the glass kind with the orange plastic handle, and before you say a word, she flips the thick white mug in front of you right side up and fills it. The coffee steams. It smells strong, almost bitter. She sets the pot down on the counter and pulls a small pad and a pencil from her apron pocket. "What'll it be?" she says. "Not a question, really. Just an opening. This is the transaction. You are here, she is here, and food will follow. There is no menu in front of you. You already know what diners serve. Eggs, toast, bacon, pancakes, hash browns. The same things they served yesterday and will serve tomorrow." She waits, pencil poised, patient but not slow. Behind her, the cook slides a plate onto the counter and rings a small bell. Another waitress sweeps in, grabs the plate, and delivers it 3 stools down without breaking stride. You order eggs and toast. She writes it down in shorthand only she and the cook understand, tears the slip from the pad, and clips it to a small carousel that spins toward the kitchen. Then she refills the coffee of the man beside you and moves down the line. You have been here 90 seconds. You are already part of the rhythm. The counter is not just a place to sit. It is the stage. 30 feet of polished chrome and marble, lined with round stools bolted to the floor. You sit shoulder to shoulder with strangers, all facing the same direction, watching the cook work. There is no privacy here, but somehow that makes it easier. You do not have to make conversation. You can just exist, quietly, among other people doing the same. The counter is democracy in diner form. The marble top is cool under your forearms. It is white with thin veins of gray running through it, polished smooth by decades of elbows and plates and spills wiped clean. The chrome edge that frames it gleams under the overhead lights, reflecting the movement of the room in distorted waves. This counter has seen every kind of person. Factory workers before dawn shifts, salesmen between appointments, women who just finished shopping downtown, night shift nurses stopping in before heading home to sleep. All of them sat exactly where you are sitting now. The stools are small, just wide enough for one person, and they swivel on a central post. The seats are upholstered in red vinyl, cracked in places where the stuffing shows through. When you sit down, the stool adjusts to your weight with a slight squeak. If you swivel too far to the left or right, your knee bumps the person next to you. So you learn not to. You learn to sit still, to face forward, to keep your elbows close. It is a kind of etiquette no one teaches, but everyone follows. Sitting at a counter is different from sitting at a table. At a table, you face someone. You make eye contact. You are expected to engage. But at a counter, you face the same direction as everyone else. You watch the cook. You watch the waitress. You watch your coffee cool in the mug. There is no pressure to perform, no obligation to be charming or interesting. You are simply there, among others who are also simply there. The man to your left is reading a newspaper, folded into quarters so it fits on the counter. He takes small sips of coffee between paragraphs, never looking up. To your right, a woman in a dark coat eats oatmeal with a far-off expression, as if she is thinking about something that happened years ago. Neither of them acknowledges you, and that is the beauty of it. You are alone, but not lonely, separate but connected, part of a group without having to join anything. Behind the counter, the workspace is narrow and efficient. The grill dominates the center, a massive rectangle of polished steel that radiates heat. To one side, a row of burners hold pots of simmering water and melting butter. Above, a warming shelf keeps toast and plates hot until the waitress can grab them. Below, a refrigerated section holds eggs, milk, butter, bacon. Everything the cook needs is within arm's reach. He does not have to move more than 2 steps in any direction. The counter itself is a dividing line. On your side, the customers. On his side, the work. But the distance is small enough that you can watch everything. You see him crack the eggs. You see him flip the pancakes. You hear the hiss when he tosses a handful of diced onions onto the grill. It is not a performance, but it feels like one. The cook is a craftsman, and the counter is where the craft happens. Every few feet along the counter, small details reveal themselves. A napkin dispenser made of chrome, a sugar jar with a hinged lid, a glass ashtray already holding 2 cigarette butts, a bottle of ketchup with a red cap, the label worn from handling. These objects are not decorative. They are functional. They are there because people need them, and they stay there because people will need them again. The counter is the heart of the diner. Not the booths along the wall, not the kitchen in the back, but this long stretch of marble and chrome where strangers sit side by side and eat the same eggs. It is utilitarian and beautiful in the way that simple things sometimes are. It asks nothing of you except that you sit down. And once you do, you understand why people keep coming back. She knows your order before you say it. Her name is probably Dot or Marge, and she has been working this counter for 5 years. Her hair is pinned back. Her apron is stained with coffee and grease. She moves with the efficiency of someone who has memorized every step. Pot in one hand, order pad in the other. She fills your cup without looking, calls your order back to the cook in a language only they understand, and somehow remembers that the man 3 stools down takes his eggs over easy with rye toast, no butter. She is always moving. That is the first thing you notice. She pours coffee while taking an order. She delivers plates while refilling sugar jars. She wipes down the counter with one hand and balances 3 checks in the other. There is no wasted motion. Every step has a purpose. Every gesture is efficient. She has learned to carry 4 plates at once, 2 balanced on her forearms, 1 in each hand, and she sets them down in front of the right customers without asking who ordered what. She just knows. Her uniform is simple: a pale blue dress with short sleeves and a white collar, a small white apron tied at the waist, pockets bulging with order pads, pens, and loose change. White shoes with thick rubber soles, scuffed from miles of walking across tile floors. Her hair is pinned back in a practical style. Nothing fancy, just out of the way. She does not wear much makeup. There is no time for that. Her face is lined, not from age, but from years of early mornings and late nights, from standing on her feet for 8 hours straight, from smiling at people who do not always smile back. She has worked this counter long enough to know the regulars by name. The factory worker who comes in at 6 every morning for 2 eggs, bacon, and hash browns. The businessman who orders oatmeal and dry toast while reading the financial section. The old man who nurses a single cup of coffee for an hour and leaves a dime tip. She does not write their orders down anymore. She just calls them back to the cook the moment they sit down. 2 over easy, bacon crisp browns. The cook nods. He already knows too. Her language with the cook is a code. Adam and Eve on a raft means 2 poached eggs on toast. Wreckham means scrambled. Burn, the British, means extra crisp bacon. She does not say these things to be cute. She says them because they are faster. The cook understands instantly. The kitchen runs on speed, and speed runs on shorthand. When your eggs arrive, she sets the plate down without ceremony. No flourish, no smile, just the plate and a glance to make sure you have everything you need: salt, pepper, ketchup. She notices the empty coffee cup 2 stools down and refills it before the customer has to ask. She clears a finished plate with one hand while pulling a check from her apron with the other. She is not rude. She is not warm. She is simply competent. And in a diner, competence is kindness. She remembers things you would not expect her to remember. The woman in the wool coat likes her coffee light, almost white. The man in the coveralls takes his eggs over easy, but wants the hash browns extra crispy. The teenager who comes in after school always orders a chocolate milkshake and sits at the far end of the counter. These details accumulate over weeks and months until the waitress carries an entire map of preferences in her head. The work is hard. Her feet ache by mid-morning. Her back hurts by closing time. She lifts heavy trays, stands in front of a hot grill, and smiles at people who sometimes do not tip. But she shows up every day. She ties on her apron, pins back her hair, and walks onto the floor. Because the diner depends on her. The cook cannot serve the food. The customers cannot pour their own coffee. She is the link between the kitchen and the counter, and without her, the whole thing falls apart. At the end of your meal, she tears a slip of paper from her pad and sets it face down beside your plate. The total is written in neat, looping numbers. 60 cents. You leave a nickel beside the check, and she scoops it up with a practiced motion, slipping it into her apron pocket. "Thank you, hon," she says, already turning to the next customer. You stand, someone else takes your stool, and she pours them coffee without missing a beat. Behind the counter, the cook is a one-man orchestra. Flat-top grill in front of him, 3 burners to the left, warming oven overhead. He never writes anything down. The orders come in as shouts from the waitress, 2 over easy, Adam and Eve on a raft, burn the British, and he translates them into motion. Crack, flip, slide. The rhythm never stops. His whites are stained with grease. His hands move faster than you can follow. And somehow, every plate comes out right. He is maybe 50, maybe older. Hard to tell. The work has worn him smooth in some places and rough in others. His face is red from years of standing in front of the grill, his forearms scarred from minor burns that have healed into white lines. He wears a white apron over a white shirt, sleeves rolled to the elbows. A white paper hat sits on his head, creased and stained with sweat. He does not look at the customers. His attention is on the grill. The grill is huge, 4 feet wide, maybe 5, and the surface is polished steel that shimmers with heat. When he tosses a handful of diced onions onto it, they hiss and steam, filling the air with a sharp, sweet smell. He works the entire surface at once. Eggs in one corner, bacon in another, hash browns in the center, pancakes on the far end. Nothing touches. Nothing burns. He has divided the grill into invisible zones, each one the right temperature for what it is cooking. Orders come in on small slips of paper clipped to a rotating carousel. The waitress tears them from her pad, clips them up, and spins the carousel toward him. He glances at the order for half a second, commits it to memory, and starts cooking. 2 over easy. He cracks 2 eggs onto the grill without breaking the yolks. Wreck 'em. He scrambles 3 eggs with a spatula, mixing them into yellow curds. Burn the British. He lays out 4 strips of bacon and lets them sizzle until the edges curl and blacken. He does not speak unless he has to. The kitchen is loud enough already. The hiss of the grill, the clang of dishes, the waitress calling out orders. He responds with gestures. A nod means he heard. A raised hand means hold on. A bell rung with the side of his spatula means order up. The waitress appears, grabs the plate, and disappears. The cook is already working on the next order. His tools are simple. A spatula, a fork, a pair of tongs. That is it. No fancy equipment, no complicated techniques. Just heat and timing. He knows by instinct when the eggs are done. He can tell by the color of the bacon when it is ready to flip. He does not use a timer. He does not check the temperature. He just works, steady and sure. the way a musician plays a familiar song. The rhythm of the work is relentless. There is no downtime. As soon as one plate goes out, another order comes in. 2 pancakes, side of sausage. 3 scrambled wheat toast. 1 over easy, burn the British, Brown's extra crispy. The orders stack up on the carousel, and he works through them in sequence, never falling behind, never speeding up. The pace is constant. It has to be. If he slows down, the diner slows down. And the diner cannot afford to slow down. His station is immaculate despite the chaos. Spatulas hang on hooks within easy reach. A stack of clean plates sits on the warming shelf above the grill. Butter is always at hand. Salt, pepper, a squeeze bottle of oil. Everything is organized. Everything is accessible. He does not have to think about where things are. His hands move on instinct, grabbing what he needs without looking. Once, you see him crack an egg and the yolk breaks. He does not flinch. He scrapes it to the side, cracks another, and keeps going. The broken egg disappears into a small metal bin below the counter. Waste happens, but not often. He is too skilled for that. Most of the time, every egg cracks clean. Every pancake flips perfectly. Every order comes out exactly as requested. By mid-morning, his shirt is soaked with sweat. His face gleams. But he does not stop. He does not take a break. The customers keep coming. The orders keep spinning in on the carousel. And he keeps cooking. This is what he does. This is what he has always done. He is not famous. He will never be famous. But every person who eats at this counter depends on him. And he knows it. It is written on a chalkboard above the counter or printed on a single laminated card. Eggs any style for 15 cents. Toast for a nickel. Coffee, bottomless, a dime. The blue plate special changes every day, but it is always the same idea. Meat, potatoes, vegetable, roll. Under $1. The menu is built for speed and volume. Nothing fancy. Nothing complicated. Just food that fills you up and gets you back to work. The chalkboard is old, the wood frame chipped at the corners, the surface smudged from being erased and rewritten every day. Today it says meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green beans, and a roll for 85 cents. Yesterday it was pot roast. Tomorrow it will be fried chicken. The specifics change, but the structure does not. Meat, starch, vegetable. That is the formula. That is what people expect. If you are sitting at the counter, you do not need to ask for a menu. The options are simple enough to memorize. Eggs, scrambled, fried, poached, or boiled. Toast, white or wheat. Bacon or sausage. Hash browns or grits. Pancakes if you want something sweet. Oatmeal if you want something plain. That is breakfast. For lunch, add sandwiches and the blue plate special. For dinner, the blue plate special, and maybe a piece of pie. The menu does not change much from week to week, and that is part of the appeal. You know what you are getting. The prices are printed in neat block letters. Eggs, 15 cents. Bacon, 10 cents. Toast, 5 cents. Coffee, 10 cents with free refills. Orange juice, 15 cents. A full breakfast, eggs, bacon, toast, and coffee costs 40 cents. You can eat lunch for 60, dinner for under $1. These are not luxury prices. They are survival prices. Prices for people who work with their hands and need to eat before their shift starts. The portions are generous. The eggs are real eggs, cracked fresh onto the grill. The bacon is thick cut, not the thin strips you get at home. The toast is sliced from a full loaf, buttered while still hot. The hash browns are shredded potatoes fried in butter until the edges turn golden and crispy. The coffee is strong enough to wake you up and bottomless enough to keep you awake. You get what you pay for, and sometimes you get more. There are no substitutions. You cannot swap the hash browns for fruit. There is no fruit. You cannot get egg whites only. The cook cracks the whole egg. You cannot order something that is not on the menu. If it is not listed, the diner does not make it. This is not about being inflexible. It is about efficiency. The cook can make 20 different breakfasts because there are only 20 combinations of the same 5 ingredients. Adding more would slow everything down. The Blue Plate Special is the heart of the lunch and dinner menu. It is whatever the cook made in bulk that morning. A big pot of stew, a tray of meatloaf, a roasting pan of chicken. He portions it out as orders come in, adds mashed potatoes or rice, a scoop of whatever vegetable is in season, and a roll from the basket on the warming shelf. It is not fancy. It is not innovative. But it is hot, it is filling, and it is cheap. For most customers, that is enough. The laminated menu card, if there is one, is small enough to fit in your hand. The print is worn in places from being handled, the corners rounded from years of being slid across the counter. It lists the same things as the chalkboard, but in more detail. Breakfast served all day. Sandwiches include ham, turkey, grilled cheese, tuna salad, egg salad. Sides include coleslaw, pickles, potato salad. Desserts include pie, rice pudding, tapioca. Everything is listed with a price beside it. No surprises. The menu does not try to be clever. There are no descriptions, no adjectives, just the name of the dish and the price. Meatloaf, 85 cents. Grilled cheese, 30 cents. Apple pie, 15 cents. You do not need to be told that the meatloaf is homemade or that the pie is fresh baked. You can see the cook making it. You can smell it from your stool. The food speaks for itself. Some diners have specials that rotate by day of week. Meatloaf on Monday, pot roast on Tuesday, fried chicken on Wednesday, liver and onions on Thursday, fish on Friday. The regulars know the schedule by heart. They plan their week around it. If you want the pot roast, you come in on Tuesday. If you miss it, you wait until next week. The simplicity of the menu is part of what makes the diner work. The cook does not have to prepare 50 different dishes. The waitress does not have to explain complicated options. The customers do not have to spend 10 minutes deciding what to order. You sit down, you glance at the board, you make a choice. Eggs or pancakes, bacon or sausage, coffee or juice, and 5 minutes later, your food arrives. The smell is what you remember most. Coffee, strong and bitter, brewed in a stainless steel urn behind the counter. Bacon sizzling on the grill, edges crisp and curling, onions caramelizing in butter, toast browning in the oven, cigarette smoke drifting from the corner booth. It all blends together into something that smells like comfort, like routine, like home, even if you have never been here before. The coffee smell hits you first, even before you step through the door. It seeps through the cracks around the frame, mixing with the cold morning air on the sidewalk. Inside, it is everywhere. The big steel urn behind the counter hisses and gurgles, brewing a fresh pot every 20 minutes. The smell is dark and bitter, with a faint metallic edge from the percolator. It is not a delicate smell. It is a working smell, the kind of coffee that wakes you up just by being in the same room. The bacon comes next. The cook lays out strips on the grill in neat rows, and within seconds the fat starts to render, pooling around the edges and turning the surface glossy. The smell is salty, smoky, almost sweet. It fills the diner, overpowering everything else for a moment before settling into the background. You can smell it on your clothes when you leave. You can taste it in the back of your throat. Onions sizzle in a corner of the grill, diced small and tossed with butter. The smell is sharp at first, making your eyes water slightly, but as they cook, it mellows into something sweet and savory. They turn golden brown, then caramel colored, and the smell shifts from sharp to rich. The cook uses them in hash browns, in omelets, in sandwiches. The smell of caramelized onions is the smell of something being made with care. The toast browns in the oven, slices laid out on a wire rack so the heat reaches both sides evenly. The smell is warm and yeasty, with a faint char when the edges darken. The cook pulls it out, slathers it with butter while it is still hot, and stacks it on a plate. The butter melts into the bread, and for a moment the smell of butter and toast is the only thing you can focus on. Underneath it all is the smell of grease. Not rancid, not dirty, but the smell of a grill that has been used every day for years. It coats the air like a film, mixing with the steam from the coffee urn and the smoke from the cigarettes. It is the smell of a place that has been cooking food for so long that the walls and floor and ceiling have absorbed it. If you run your finger along the edge of the counter, it comes away slightly tacky. That is the grease. It is part of the building now. The cigarette smoke is constant. Ashtrays sit every few feet along the counter, and most of them have something smoldering in them. The smoke drifts up in thin ribbons, curling toward the ceiling before dispersing into the general haze. It smells stale and acrid, but also familiar. It is the smell of people pausing between bites to take a drag. The smell of waiting for a check. The smell of sitting alone with your thoughts. In the morning, the diner smells like breakfast. Eggs, bacon, toast, coffee. By midday, the smell shifts. Grilled cheese sandwiches, tomato soup, hamburgers frying in their own fat. The grill is never off, never cool, and every new order adds another layer to the olfactory landscape. By evening, the air is thick with the accumulated smells of everything that has been cooked that day. There are other smells too, smaller and harder to place. The cleaning solution the waitress uses to wipe down the counter. The dish soap from the back. The wood varnish on the booths, warmed by the bodies sitting in them. The leather of someone's jacket. The cold, wet smell of rain when someone opens the door. But the dominant smell, the one that defines the space, is the smell of food being made in real time. Not reheated, not microwaved, not prepackaged. Food cracked, flipped, and fried on a hot grill by someone who has done it 10,000 times. That smell is honest. It does not lie. It tells you exactly what you are going to eat. When you leave the diner, the smell clings to you. Your coat smells like bacon. Your hair smells like coffee and cigarette smoke. If you ride the streetcar or the bus afterward, people will know you came from a diner. The smell announces it. And for the rest of the day, every time you catch a faint whiff of coffee or bacon, you will think of the counter, the stools, the cook, the waitress, the way your eggs arrived exactly 3 minutes after you ordered them. The smell is memory in vapor form. Years later, long after the diner is closed and the building has been torn down, you will walk past a diner in another city and catch the same scent drifting through the door. And for a moment, you will be 22 again, sitting on a red vinyl stool, waiting for your eggs. The diner's never quiet. Dishes clatter in the back. The griddle hisses when the cook throws water on it to clean it between orders. Coffee pours into thick ceramic mugs. Silverware scrapes against plates. The cash register dings. Conversations overlap, low and steady, punctuated by the occasional laugh. The jukebox plays something slow and jazzy. It is noise, but it is the kind of noise that wraps around you like a blanket. The bell above the door jingles every time someone enters or leaves. It is a simple bell, small and brass, mounted on a spring. The sound is bright and cheerful, a single note that cuts through everything else for a moment before fading. You hear it dozens of times during a meal. Someone arrives. The bell rings. Someone leaves. The bell rings. It becomes a rhythm you stop noticing until it stops. Behind the counter, the grill is the loudest thing in the room. Bacon sizzles with a constant, aggressive hiss. Eggs bubble and pop when they hit the hot surface. Hash browns crunch and crackle as the cook flips them with a spatula. When he throws a handful of water onto the grill to clean it, the water flashes into steam with a sound like a tire bursting. It is violent and brief, and then the hiss settles back to its usual steady pitch. The dishes never stop moving. In the back, the dishwasher works at a furious pace. Plates clatter into metal racks. Silverware clinks into bins. Mugs scrape against each other as they are stacked. Every few minutes, the dishwasher pushes through the swinging door with a load of clean plates, sets them on the counter with a soft thud, and disappears again. The sound is constant, but never chaotic. It is the sound of a system working. Coffee pours in a steady stream from the glass pot into the ceramic mug. The sound is liquid and hollow, a glug, glug, glug that changes pitch as the mug fills. The waitress never overfills. She stops just shy of the rim, sets the pot down, and moves on. Sometimes you hear her refilling your cup before you see her. The sound announces her presence before she arrives. Silverware scrapes against plates as customers cut their eggs or spread butter on toast. Forks clink against ceramic. Knives saw through bacon. Spoons stir sugar into coffee, tapping against the side of the mug in a rhythmic ting, ting, ting. These sounds overlap, creating a quiet percussion that never quite resolves into silence. The cash register sits at the far end of the counter near the door. It is old and mechanical, with numbered keys and a crank. When the waitress rings up a check, the keys clack as she presses them, and the drawer opens with a sharp ding. The sound of coins dropping into compartments, the rustle of dollar bills, the snap of the drawer closing, every sale announced by sound. Conversations happen in low tones. The acoustics of the diner do not encourage loud talk. The ceiling is low, the space narrow, and everything you say carries. So people speak quietly, murmurs at the counter, hushed exchanges in the booths. The occasional laugh, quickly stifled. You cannot hear what anyone is saying unless you are sitting right next to them. But you can hear that they are talking. The human voice becomes part of the ambient noise. The jukebox sits in the corner, glowing softly. Someone feeds it a nickel and selects 3 songs. The mechanism inside clicks and whirs as it sorts through the records. Then the music starts. Jazz mostly. Something slow and instrumental. The sound is tinny, filtered through a single speaker, but it fills the gaps between the other noises. It gives the diner a mood, a tempo. Without it, the space would feel too mechanical. The cook rings a small bell when an order is ready. One sharp ding with the side of his spatula against the metal shelf above the grill. The waitress appears, grabs the plate, and delivers it. The bell rings again. Another order up. The sound is small, but essential. It is how the kitchen communicates with the floor. Chairs scrape against tile when someone stands to leave. The sound is harsh and loud, cutting through everything else. The chair legs are metal. The floor is hard, and the friction between them produces a screech that makes you wince. But it is also the sound of movement, the sound of the diner turning over. One customer leaves, another arrives. The stool is never empty for long. You hear the sizzle of eggs, the clink of mugs, the scrape of spatulas, the murmur of voices, the ding of the register, the jingle of the bell. All of it layered together into a soundscape that is uniquely diner. It is not peaceful. It is not quiet. But it is consistent. It is reliable. And after a few minutes, your brain stops trying to separate the sounds and just lets them exist as a single, continuous hum. When you step outside, the sudden silence is disorienting. Your ears ring slightly from the absence of noise. The street is quieter than you remember. And for a moment, you miss the clatter, the hiss, the bell, the sound of a place alive with work and people and food. They are here every morning. Same time, same stool. The factory worker who orders 2 eggs, bacon, and hash browns before his shift. The businessman who reads the paper while eating oatmeal and dry toast. The old man who nurses a single cup of coffee for an hour. The waitress knows their names. The cook knows their orders. They do not have to say a word. They are part of the furniture, and the diner would feel wrong without them. The factory worker arrives at 6:15. You can set your watch by him. He pushes through the door, still half asleep, his jacket smelling like machine oil and cold air. He takes the 3rd stool from the left, the one closest to the register, and before he has fully settled onto the seat, the waitress is already pouring his coffee. He does not look at the menu. He has not looked at the menu in 3 years. The waitress tears a slip from her pad and clips it to the carousel without writing anything down. 2 over easy, bacon, browns, wheat. The cook nods and starts cracking eggs. The factory worker drinks his coffee black and fast. He wraps both hands around the mug as if trying to pull the warmth directly into his body. He does not talk much. A nod to the waitress. A grunt of thanks when his plate arrives. He eats quickly, mechanically, the way someone eats when food is fuel and nothing more. His shift starts at 7. By 6:45, he is gone, $1 and a dime left on the counter. The waitress sweeps it up and wipes down his spot. The stool stays empty for 5 minutes, then someone else takes it. The businessman arrives at 7:30. He wears a suit and carries a briefcase and a folded newspaper under his arm. He always takes the stool at the far end of the counter, near the window, where he can watch the street while he eats. He orders the same thing every day: oatmeal, dry toast, black coffee. No butter, no sugar, no variation. The waitress brings it without asking. He unfolds the paper and reads while he eats, one hand holding the spoon, the other turning pages. He does not look up. He does not make conversation. After 20 minutes, he folds the paper, leaves exact change on the counter, and walks out. The waitress does not know where he works. She has never asked. The old man arrives late, around 9:30, after the morning rush has cleared. He walks slowly, leaning on a cane, and takes the stool in the middle of the counter, where the light from the window is brightest. He orders a single cup of coffee and nothing else. The waitress fills his cup and sets it in front of him with a small pitcher of cream and the sugar jar. He adds 1 spoonful of sugar, no cream, and stirs slowly, watching the spoon go around and around. Then he drinks, slowly, 1 sip at a time. He makes that cup last an hour. The old man does not read. He does not talk. He just sits and watches. He watches the cook work the grill. He watches the waitress refill coffee. He watches new customers come in and sit down and order and eat and leave. He is not waiting for anything. He is just here. The waitress refills his cup once, maybe twice, even though he only paid for one. She does not charge him for the refills. She never has. When the old man finally stands to leave, he moves carefully, gripping the edge of the counter for balance before reaching for his cane. He leaves a dime on the counter, even though the coffee only costs a dime and he has had 3 cups. The waitress does not say anything. She just nods. He nods back. And then he is gone, the door jingling behind him. There are others. The woman in the wool coat who comes in every Tuesday and Thursday and always sits in the same booth and orders the same thing: scrambled eggs, white toast, orange juice. The teenage boy who stops in after school and orders a milkshake and a slice of pie and sits at the counter doing his homework. The night shift nurse who comes in at 6 in the morning still in her white uniform, and orders pancakes and coffee, and barely speaks because she is too tired. The regulars are the skeleton of the diner. They give it structure. The waitress plans her shifts around them. She knows the factory worker will leave at 6:45, and the businessman at 7:50, and the old man around 10:30. She knows the teenage boy will show up at 3:15 and the night shift nurse at 6:05. These are fixed points. Everything else flows around them. The cook knows them too. He hears the bell ring and glances up to see who walked in. If it is a regular, he starts their order before the waitress calls it back. 2 over-easy, bacon, browns, oatmeal and dry toast. 1 coffee. He does not need to be told. The regulars have carved grooves into the routine, and the diner follows those grooves without thinking. Over time, you become a regular without meaning to. You come in once, then twice, then every Tuesday before work. The waitress starts recognizing your face. She pours your coffee before you sit down. The cook glances up and nods when you walk in. You do not have to order anymore. They already know. And one morning, you realize you have your own stool, your own spot in the routine. You are part of the skeleton now. It is always written on the chalkboard, always under $1, and always gone by 2 in the afternoon. Meatloaf and mashed potatoes, pot roast with carrots, fried chicken with greens and cornbread. It comes on a heavy ceramic plate, the kind that holds heat, and it arrives within 10 minutes of ordering. The Blue Plate Special is not about choice. It is about value. You eat what they made, and you are grateful for it. The name comes from the plate itself. Not blue in the color sense, but blue in the old railroad term for something inexpensive and filling. The plates are thick, heavy ceramic, white with a faint blue rim around the edge. They come out of the kitchen almost too hot to touch, radiating heat into your hands when you pick them up. The food stays hot until you finish eating. That is the point of the plate. That is why they use it. The special changes every day. On Monday, it is meatloaf, a thick slab of ground beef mixed with breadcrumbs and egg and onion, baked in a loaf pan and sliced into portions. The cook makes it in the morning before the diner opens, sliding the pan into the oven while the coffee brews. By lunchtime, it is ready. He portions it out as orders come in, 1 slice per plate, and ladles brown gravy over the top. Beside it, a mound of mashed potatoes, creamy and smooth, with a small pool of melted butter in the center. A scoop of green beans from a pot that has been simmering on the back burner since breakfast. A soft white roll, still warm, with a pat of butter melting on top. The price is written in chalk beside the description. 85 cents, sometimes 75, never more than $1. For that price, you get a full meal, meat, starch, vegetable, bread. Enough food to fill your stomach and get you through the rest of the workday. It is not fancy. The meatloaf is not seasoned with exotic spices. The potatoes are not whipped into peaks. The green beans are plain, boiled soft with a piece of ham hock for flavor. But it is hot, and it is filling, and it is cheap. On Tuesday, the special is pot roast. The cook starts it the night before, browning a big cut of beef in a heavy pot, then adding onions, carrots, celery, and enough water to cover it halfway. He lets it simmer overnight on low heat, the meat breaking down into tender, pull-apart shreds. By morning, the kitchen smells like beef and caramelized onions. He portions it out with a slotted spoon, arranging the meat and vegetables on the plate, then adds mashed potatoes or rice and a ladle of the cooking liquid as gravy. A roll on the side, 80 cents. Wednesday is fried chicken. Pieces of chicken dredged in seasoned flour and fried in a cast-iron skillet until the skin is golden and crispy. The cook makes enough for the lunch rush and keeps it warm on the shelf above the grill. When an order comes in, he plates 2 pieces, a drumstick and a thigh, or a breast and a wing, adds a scoop of collard greens cooked with bacon, and a square of cornbread still hot from the oven. 90 cents. It is gone by 1:30. The blue plate special is popular because it is predictable. The regulars know what day is what. They plan their week around it. If you want the pot roast, you come in on Tuesday. If you miss it, you wait until next Tuesday. The special does not repeat in the same week. Once it is gone, it is gone. The portions are generous. The cook does not skimp. The meatloaf slice is thick. The pot roast serving includes 3 or 4 chunks of meat. The fried chicken is a full quarter of a bird, maybe more. You do not leave hungry. If anything, you leave too full, your belt a little tighter, your body warm and heavy with food. That is the goal. That is what the blue plate special is designed to do. The plate itself becomes part of the experience. It is heavy enough that carrying it feels substantial. The ceramic retains heat so well that the mashed potatoes are still steaming when you take your first bite. The food does not cool off halfway through the meal. It stays hot until the plate is clean. That is why diners use these plates. They are functional in a way that plastic or tin never could be. The cook makes the special in bulk because that is the only way the math works. A single meatloaf costs him maybe $2 in ingredients and feeds 12 people. A pot roast costs $3 and feeds 15. Fried chicken costs $4 and feeds 20. The economies of scale allow him to sell the plates for under $1 and still make a profit. But only if he makes enough. If he runs out at noon, he has lost money. So he makes more than he thinks he will need. By 2 in the afternoon, the chalkboard is usually erased. The blue plate special is gone. The cook has served every portion he made. The pot is empty, scraped clean, soaking in the sink. If you come in at 2:30 and ask for the special, the waitress shakes her head. All out, hun. You will have to order something else. A sandwich, maybe, or eggs. Breakfast is always available. The blue plate special is not about variety. It is about having one thing and doing it well. The cook makes the same dish every Monday for years. He knows exactly how much salt the meatloaf needs. He knows how long to simmer the pot roast. He knows when the fried chicken is done just by the sound of the oil. The repetition makes him better at it. And that quality, combined with the price, is why people keep coming back. It is strong, bitter, served in thick white mugs that chip at the rim. The waitress refills it without asking, sliding the pot across the counter with one hand while taking an order with the other. You add cream from the small metal pitcher, sugar from the glass dispenser. You do not complain about the taste, because that is not the point. The point is the ritual, the warmth, the fact that it costs a dime and you can sit here as long as you want. The coffee is brewed in a big stainless steel urn behind the counter. The urn is tall and cylindrical, with a glass gauge on the side showing the level of liquid inside. It makes a low, rumbling sound as it percolates, and every 20 minutes or so, the waitress dumps out the old batch and starts a new one. The coffee is never more than an hour old. It is always hot, always fresh, and always strong enough to wake the dead. The beans are cheap. Dark roast, over-roasted really, almost burnt. The kind of coffee that leaves a bitter residue on the back of your tongue and makes your teeth feel gritty. But that is how diner coffee is supposed to taste. It is not meant to be sipped and savored. It is meant to be functional. A delivery system for caffeine. A way to stay awake during a long shift or a short break. The mug is thick ceramic, white with no decoration. It is heavy in your hand, solid. The kind of mug that could survive being dropped on a tile floor. The rim is chipped in places from years of use, and if you run your finger along the edge, You can feel the rough spots where the glaze has worn away. The inside is stained with brown rings from thousands of pores. No amount of scrubbing will get them out. They are permanent now, part of the mug. The waitress fills your mug as soon as you sit down. She does not ask if you want coffee. She assumes you do. Everyone does. She pours it to within half an inch of the rim, sets the pot down on the counter, and moves on. If your mug is less than half full, she tops it off without asking. The coffee is bottomless. You paid a dime for the first cup, and every cup after that is free. You could sit here all morning drinking coffee, and no one would say a word. The cream comes in a small metal pitcher, the kind with a hinged lid and a long spout. It sits on the counter between the sugar jar and the napkin dispenser. The cream is real, not the powdered stuff, and it swirls into the coffee in pale ribbons, turning the black liquid into something lighter, almost tan. You do not need much. A splash is enough. Too much, and the coffee loses its bite. The sugar sits in a glass dispenser with a metal pour spout on top. You tip it over your mug, and a thin stream of white granules falls in, dissolving as soon as it hits the hot liquid. 1 spoonful, 2, maybe 3 if you like it sweet. The sugar softens the bitterness but does not eliminate it. Diner coffee is still diner coffee, even with cream and sugar. You do not drink it quickly. You sip it slowly, letting the heat and the caffeine work their way into your system. The first sip is always the best. It burns slightly going down, and the bitterness makes you wince. But within seconds, you feel more awake, more present. The second sip is easier. The third is routine. By the time you finish the mug, the waitress is already there with the pot, filling it again without a word. The coffee is a reason to stay. You could finish your eggs and leave, but the coffee gives you permission to linger, to sit at the counter and watch the cook work, to eavesdrop on the conversation 2 stools down, to think about nothing in particular while the diner moves around you. As long as your mug is full, you have a reason to be here, and the waitress will keep filling it as long as you want. The taste is consistent. It does not matter what time of day you come in or who is working the counter. The coffee tastes the same. Bitter, strong, slightly burnt. That consistency is part of the appeal. You know what you are getting. There are no surprises, no variations, just coffee that tastes like every other cup of coffee you have ever had in a diner. Some people drink 5 cups, 6. They sit at the counter for an hour, slowly working through refill after refill, their hands wrapped around the mug, even when it is not that cold outside. The coffee becomes an excuse, a reason to not be at work yet, a reason to not go home, a reason to sit among other people and not feel alone. When you finally stand to leave, you notice the mug is empty again. You do not remember finishing it. The waitress has already cleared it away, already wiped down the spot where it sat. The coffee is gone, but the warmth remains. In your chest, in your hands, in the way your mind feels sharper and more focused. That is what diner coffee does. It does not taste good, but it works. And in 1928, that is all anyone asks for. It is 3 in the afternoon, and the man next to you orders pancakes. It is 10 at night, and someone wants scrambled eggs. The diner does not care. Breakfast is not a time of day. It is a category of food, and it is always available. Eggs, toast, bacon, hash browns. The cook does not blink. The waitress does not question it. This is what diners do. They serve breakfast when you want it, not when the clock says you should. The idea that breakfast belongs to morning is a rule the diner ignores. In other restaurants, if you walk in at 2 in the afternoon and ask for eggs, they will tell you breakfast ended at 11. But not here. Here the grill is always hot. The eggs are always ready, and the cook will make you scrambled eggs at midnight if that is what you want. Time does not govern the menu. Hunger does. This flexibility is radical in 1928. Most places operate on strict schedules. Breakfast from 6 to 11. Lunch from 11 to 3. Dinner from 5 to 9. The divisions are firm. The rules are clear. And you eat what the restaurant decides to serve at that particular hour. But the diner rejects that structure. It serves breakfast all day because its customers work all hours. Factory shifts that start at midnight. Night watchmen who eat dinner at dawn. Workers whose lunch break falls at 10 in the morning or 4 in the afternoon. The diner accommodates them all. The cook keeps breakfast ingredients within reach no matter what time it is. Eggs in the refrigerated section below the grill. Bacon in the warming drawer. Bread for toast stacked on the shelf. Butter, always soft. Potatoes for hash browns, already peeled and shredded, sitting in a bowl of cold water to keep them from browning. He can make breakfast in his sleep. The muscle memory is so ingrained that he does not need to think about it. Crack, flip, slide. The same motions at 3 in the afternoon as at 7 in the morning. The waitress does not register surprise when someone orders pancakes at an odd hour. She writes it down, clips it to the carousel, and moves on. To her, there is no odd hour. There are only customers and orders. If you want eggs at 9 at night, that is your business. She is here to serve, not to judge. The lack of judgment is part of what makes the diner feel safe. You can walk in at any time, order anything on the menu, and no one will make you feel strange for it. There is something comforting about this constancy, knowing that no matter when you walk through the door, you can get the same eggs and toast you had yesterday morning. The world outside is unpredictable. Shifts change. Schedules shift. Life disrupts routine, but the diner remains steady. Breakfast is always available. The coffee is always hot. The cook is always at the grill. Some customers take advantage of this more than others. The night shift workers who eat breakfast for dinner because their bodies are running on a different clock. The insomniacs who wander in at 2 in the morning and order pancakes because they have given up on sleep. The travelers passing through town who have lost track of what meal they are supposed to be eating. The diner welcomes them all without question. The cook makes breakfast dishes faster than anything else on the menu. Eggs take 3 minutes. Toast takes 2. Bacon takes 5, but he always has some ready on the grill. Pancakes take the longest, maybe 7 minutes. But even that is faster than most lunch or dinner items. The speed is part of why breakfast works at any hour. You do not have to wait long. You do not have to plan ahead. You just sit down, order, and the food arrives. There is also something psychologically satisfying about eating breakfast food outside of breakfast hours. It feels like breaking a rule, even though no rule exists. Ordering eggs at 4 in the afternoon has a small rebellious thrill to it. You are eating morning food in the middle of the afternoon. You are collapsing time. The diner makes that possible. The menu does not change based on time of day. The same laminated card, the same chalkboard, the same options at midnight as at noon. Eggs any style. Pancakes, French toast, oatmeal, bacon, sausage, hash browns. The blue plate special might only be available at lunch, but everything else is fair game. The consistency is the point. You never have to wonder if something is available. If it is on the menu, the diner will make it. By serving breakfast at any hour, the diner becomes more than a restaurant. It becomes a refuge. A place where the normal rules do not apply. Where you can eat what you want when you want it. Where 3 in the afternoon and 7 in the morning are functionally the same. And in a world that is increasingly rigid about schedules and structure, that freedom matters more than you might expect. Most of the world shuts down at sunset. But the diner stays open. The lights stay on. the coffee stays hot. Late-night factory workers stop in after their shifts. Cab drivers grab a quick meal between fares. Insomniacs come in just to sit somewhere that is not their empty apartment. The diner does not judge. It just serves. And in a world that closes its doors at 9 o'clock, that makes it sacred. At midnight, the diner is half empty but fully awake. The booths along the wall sit vacant, their red vinyl seats gleaming under the overhead lights. The counter has 3 or 4 customers spread out along its length, each one sitting alone, each one staring into a coffee mug or at the cook working the grill. The waitress moves more slowly now. There is no rush. The pace has shifted from frantic to meditative, but the diner is still running, still open, still serving. The night shift attracts a different crowd. These are not businessmen grabbing a quick breakfast before work. These are people whose lives run counter to the rest of the world. The factory worker who clocks out at 11 and needs food before going home. The cab driver who has been on the road since 6 and needs something hot in his stomach. The nurse who just finished a 12-hour shift at the hospital and is too tired to cook. The musician who finished a gig at a speakeasy and is still too wired to sleep. They come in alone mostly. They do not make conversation. They just eat. There is a loneliness to the late-night diner, but it is not an oppressive loneliness. It is a shared loneliness. You are not the only person awake at 2 a.m. You are not the only one sitting in a diner at an hour when everyone else is asleep. The other customers become proof that you are not alone in your wakefulness. You do not talk to them. You do not acknowledge them. But their presence is enough. The cook on the night shift is usually older. The young cooks work the busy morning and lunch rushes. The night shift goes to the veterans, the ones who have been doing this long enough that they do not need supervision. He works the grill with the same precision as the day cook, but slower, more deliberate. There is no rush. Orders come in one at a time. He makes them one at a time. There is a rhythm to it, a meditative quality. Crack, flip, slide. The same motions he has been making for 20 years. The waitress on the night shift is different, too. Quieter, less performative. During the day, the waitress has to be quick, efficient, almost aggressive in her competence. At night, she can afford to be gentle. She pours your coffee and leaves you alone. She does not hover. She does not try to turn the table. You can sit for an hour and she will only refill your cup twice, silently, without interrupting whatever thoughts you are lost in. The diner at night feels like a secret. The streetlights outside cast long shadows through the windows. The occasional car passes, headlights sweeping across the counter. Inside, the light is warm and yellow, almost amber. The jukebox plays softly in the corner, something slow and sad. The hum of the refrigerator, the hiss of the grill, the low murmur of the cook humming to himself as he works. These are the sounds of the night diner. Some people come in and order full meals, eggs, bacon, toast, the works. Others just want coffee and pie. The night shift is more forgiving about this. During the day, you are expected to order food. At night, no one cares if you nurse a single cup of coffee for 2 hours. The diner is not busy enough to need the turnover. The stool is yours as long as you want it. The diner stays open all night because someone has to. In a city that never fully sleeps, there has to be somewhere to go when everything else is closed. The restaurants shut down at 9. The cafeterias close at 8. The lunch counters lock their doors at 6. But the diner keeps its lights on. It keeps the grill hot. It keeps the coffee brewing. Because someone will need it. Someone always needs it. There is also something defiant about the all-night diner. It refuses to yield to the darkness. It refuses to close. It stands as a beacon on an empty street, light spilling out through the windows, the smell of coffee drifting into the night air. It is open when it should not be open. It is awake when the rest of the world is asleep. And that defiance is part of what makes it essential. By 4 a.m, the diner starts to shift again. The night people begin to leave. The early morning people begin to arrive. The baker on his way to the bakery. The newspaper delivery man finishing his route. The milkman stopping in before he starts his rounds. The diner bridges the gap between night and day. It is never closed long enough for the two worlds to separate completely. When you leave the diner at 2 a.m, the street is dark and empty. But the diner behind you is still glowing, still open, and knowing that it will be there tomorrow night and the night after that and every night makes the darkness a little easier to walk through. You sit next to people you would never meet anywhere else. A lawyer in a pressed suit sits beside a man in coveralls still dusted with sawdust. A mother with 2 small children shares the counter with a woman in an evening gown, heels kicked off under her stool. Class does not matter here. Money does not matter here. Everyone eats the same eggs. Everyone drinks the same coffee. The diner is the great equalizer. The lawyer sits 2 stools to your left. His suit is dark wool, expertly tailored, and his briefcase rests on the floor beside his stool. He reads a legal document while eating dry toast and drinking black coffee. His posture is perfect. His hands are clean. He does not look at anyone else. To his right sits a man in work clothes. His shirt is flannel, his pants are canvas, and his boots are scuffed and stained. Sawdust clings to his sleeves. He smells like wood and sweat. He orders eggs, bacon, hash browns, and eats with his head down, shoveling food into his mouth like a man who needs to get back to work. They do not acknowledge each other, but they sit shoulder to shoulder, sharing the same counter, eating food made on the same grill. At the end of the counter, a woman in an evening gown sips coffee from a chipped mug. Her dress is silk, pale blue, with beading along the neckline that catches the light. Her hair is pinned in elaborate waves. Her lipstick is still perfect. She looks like she just came from a theater or a party or somewhere far more elegant than this. But she is here, eating pie at 11 at night. Her heels kicked off under the stool, her stockinged feet barely touching the floor. Next to her, a mother with 2 small children tries to keep them quiet while they share a plate of pancakes. The children are loud, sticky, restless. The woman in the evening gown does not complain. She just eats her pie and stares out the window. This mixing of worlds is what makes the diner strange and beautiful. In other places, people sort themselves. The rich eat in restaurants with tablecloths and waiters in bow ties. The poor eat at home or in church basements. The middle class eats in cafeterias and lunch counters. But the diner ignores these divisions. It is too cheap to be exclusive and too good to be dismissible. So everyone comes here. And for a brief moment, the walls that separate them dissolve. The businessman does not feel superior here. The factory worker does not feel inferior. The diner strips away the signifiers of class and reduces everyone to the same basic need: hunger. You are all here for the same reason. You all order from the same menu. You all eat off the same plates. The food does not taste better if you are wearing a suit. The coffee is not weaker if you are wearing coveralls. Everyone is equal at the counter. There is no assigned seating. You sit wherever there is an open stool. If the only available spot is between a banker and a bricklayer, that is where you sit. You do not get to choose your neighbors. The diner chooses for you. And that randomness creates moments of proximity that would never happen anywhere else. The banker overhears the bricklayer talking to the cook about his daughter's wedding. The bricklayer overhears the banker complaining about interest rates. They do not speak to each other, but they share space. And in sharing space, they are reminded that the other exists. Children are tolerated at the counter, though not encouraged. Most families take the booths. But sometimes a mother will sit at the counter with a child on the stool beside her, and the waitress will bring an extra napkin and a glass of milk without being asked. The other customers do not complain. They just shift slightly to make room. The child swings their legs and eats pancakes with their hands, and no one says a word. Women eat alone at the diner without it being scandalous. In other restaurants, a woman dining alone might attract unwanted attention or raised eyebrows. But not here. The diner is too utilitarian for that. A woman sits at the counter, orders eggs, eats them, and leaves. No one bothers her. No one questions her presence. She is just another customer. The diner does not care about propriety. It cares about serving food. The old sit next to the young. The employed sit next to the unemployed. The locals sit next to the travelers passing through. A man who owns a factory might sit next to a man who works in that factory, and neither of them would know it. The anonymity of the diner protects everyone. You are not required to introduce yourself. You are not required to explain who you are or why you are here. You just sit, eat, and leave. This democracy is accidental. The diner did not set out to create a classless space. It just built a counter with stools and served cheap food and left the door unlocked. But the result is the same. For the 20 minutes you sit here, class distinctions blur. You are not a lawyer or a laborer. You are not rich or poor. You are just someone eating eggs. And so is everyone else. When you stand to leave, you glance down the counter one last time. The lawyer is gone. The man in coveralls is still eating. The woman in the evening gown is paying her check. The mother is wiping syrup off her children's faces. You do not know any of them. You will never see them again. But for a brief moment you shared something. A counter, a meal, a space where everyone belonged. Your food arrives in minutes, not because it is pre-made, but because the system is designed for speed. The grill is already hot. The eggs are already cracked. The toast is already in the oven. The cook moves like a machine. The waitress moves faster. There is no waiting, no lingering. If you need to eat and get back to work in 20 minutes, the diner can do that. If you want to sit for an hour, that is fine too. But the food comes fast. The speed is not an accident. It is engineered into every aspect of the diner. The layout of the kitchen, the design of the menu, the training of the staff. Everything is built to minimize the time between order and plate. The cook does not have to walk more than 2 steps to reach anything he needs. The grill is already hot when the diner opens at 6 in the morning and stays hot until it closes at midnight. The eggs are pre-cracked into a bowl so he does not waste time tapping shells. The bacon is laid out on the grill in neat rows so he can flip an entire batch at once. Every small optimization adds up. The waitress is part of the system too. She does not write down orders in full sentences. She uses shorthand. 2 over easy becomes 2 up. Scrambled eggs become reckum. She tears the slip from her pad and clips it to the carousel in a single motion. The carousel spins toward the cook. He glances at it for half a second, memorizes the order, and starts cooking. No one has to read the order twice. No one has to ask for clarification. The information flows from customer to waitress to cook without friction. The menu itself is designed for speed. Eggs cook in 3 minutes. Bacon takes 5, but the cook always has some ready. Toast takes 2 minutes. Hash browns take 7, but he makes them in batches throughout the morning. Pancakes take the longest at 7 minutes, but even that is faster than most other dishes. The longest you will wait for breakfast is 10 minutes, and that is only if you order something complicated. Most orders are out in 5. The cook does not make one order at a time. He makes 3 or 4 at once, staggered, so they finish in sequence. While eggs for one order are cooking, he is flipping bacon for another and toasting bread for a third. He works in layers, in loops, in overlapping timelines. His hands never stop moving. Crack, flip, slide. Crack, flip, slide. The rhythm is constant. The output is relentless. The waitress delivers plates as soon as they are ready. She does not wait for all the orders at a table to finish so she can bring them out together. If your eggs are done, she brings them now. If your companion's pancakes are still cooking, they will arrive in 3 minutes. This is not considered rude. It is expected. You eat when your food is ready. The diner is not interested in synchronized dining experiences. It is interested in efficiency. There is no garnish, no parsley on the plate, no orange slice on the side. The food is functional. The cook slides the eggs onto the plate, adds the bacon and hash browns, drops 2 pieces of toast on the side, and rings the bell. The waitress grabs it and delivers it. The whole process takes less than 10 seconds, from grill to customer. The plate is still radiating heat when it lands in front of you. Speed is also a courtesy. The diner understands that most of its customers are on a schedule. The factory worker has to be at his shift by 7. The businessman has a meeting at 9. The nurse needs to get home and sleep before her next shift. They do not have time to linger over a 2-hour breakfast. They need food quickly so they can get on with their day. The diner respects that. It serves them fast and sends them on their way. But the speed is not aggressive. The diner does not rush you out the door. Once your food arrives, you can eat as slowly as you want. You can sit and sip your coffee for an hour after your plate is clean. The waitress will refill your cup, but she will not bring you the check until you ask for it. The speed is about service, not turnover. The goal is to get food to you quickly, not to get you out quickly. The system breaks down only during the morning rush. Between 7 and 9, the counter fills completely and orders pile up faster than the cook can make them. The carousel spins with 6 or 7 slips clipped to it. The waitress calls out orders in rapid succession. The cook works at double speed, sweat dripping down his face, his hands moving in a blur. Even then, the wait is only 10 or 15 minutes. Longer than usual, but still faster than most restaurants. The speed is what makes the diner viable. If the food took 30 minutes to arrive, people would go elsewhere. But because the diner can serve a full breakfast in 5 minutes, it becomes the default. The place you go when you are in a hurry. The place you go when you need something fast and hot and cheap. And because it delivers on that promise every single day, people keep coming back. It sits in a glass case on the counter. Apple, cherry, lemon meringue, chocolate cream. The slices are thick, the crust is flaky, and it costs 15 cents. The waitress cuts it in the back and brings it out on a small plate with a fork. You eat it slowly. It is sweet and simple, and somehow better than any dessert you have ever had at a fancy restaurant. Maybe it is the pie, maybe it is the diner, probably both. The glass case sits near the register at eye level when you are sitting at the counter. The pies are whole, or nearly whole, each one sitting on a white ceramic plate. The case is clean, but not spotless. There are smudges on the glass from hands and breath, and the condensation that forms when a hot pie is placed inside. The pies themselves are works of humble craft. The crusts are golden brown, crimped at the edges with a fork. The fillings peek out through lattice tops or vents cut into the dough. They are not perfect. They are not symmetrical, but they are real. The apple pie is the most popular. It is made with tart apples, sliced thin and layered with sugar, cinnamon, and a little lemon juice to keep them from turning brown. The crust is lard-based, flaky and buttery, and it shatters when you press your fork into it. The filling is not overly sweet. The apples still have some bite to them. It is served at room temperature, or slightly warm if it is fresh from the oven. A scoop of vanilla ice cream costs an extra nickel, but most people eat it plain. The cherry pie is brighter, sweeter, almost garish in its redness. The cherries are canned, not fresh, but that does not make the pie any less satisfying. The filling is thick and glossy, almost gelatinous, and it stains your lips red when you eat it. The crust is the same as the apple pie, buttery and flaky, but the contrast between the tart cherries and the rich crust is what makes it work. It is a pie that does not apologize for being what it is. The lemon meringue is the most delicate. The filling is pale yellow, smooth, and creamy, tart enough to make your mouth pucker, but sweet enough to balance it out. The meringue on top is piled high, browned lightly with a kitchen torch or under the broiler, and it dissolves on your tongue like sweetened air. The crust is pre-baked, so it stays crisp even after the filling is added. This pie does not last long. It is usually gone by mid-afternoon. The chocolate cream pie is the richest. The filling is thick and dark, made with real cocoa and heavy cream, and it tastes like chocolate pudding, condensed into something more substantial. The crust is a graham cracker base, pressed into the pan and baked until firm. On top, a layer of whipped cream, real whipped cream, not the canned kind. It is the kind of pie you eat slowly because each bite is almost too much. Almost, but not quite. The pies are made fresh every morning by the baker who comes in before dawn. He works in the back, in the small kitchen that most customers never see, and he makes 3 or 4 pies depending on what is left from the day before. He does not follow recipes. He has been making pies for 30 years. He knows by feel when the dough is ready. He knows by smell when the crust is done. He knows by sight when the filling has thickened enough. The pies are consistent because he is consistent. The waitress cuts the pie when you order it. She takes the whole pie out of the case, sets it on the cutting board, and slices it with a long, thin knife. The slices are generous. 1/6 of a pie, maybe an 1/8. She slides the slice onto a small white plate, adds a fork, and brings it to you. Sometimes she adds a dollop of whipped cream without asking. Sometimes she does not. It depends on her mood and how much whipped cream is left in the bowl. You eat the pie slowly because you do not want it to end. The crust crumbles under your fork. The filling oozes slightly when you cut into it. The sweetness spreads across your tongue and lingers there. It is not a sophisticated dessert. It is not trying to be innovative or impressive. It is just pie. Good pie, made by someone who knows how to make pie. There is something about eating pie at a diner counter that makes it taste better. Maybe it is the contrast with the savory food you just finished. Maybe it is the fact that you are sitting among strangers and no one is watching you eat. Maybe it is the knowledge that this pie costs 15 cents and is just as good as anything you would get at a bakery for 3 times the price. Whatever the reason, the pie tastes better here. Some people come to the diner just for the pie. They do not order a meal. They sit down, order a slice of apple pie and a cup of coffee, and that is their dinner. The waitress does not judge. She brings the pie and fills the coffee and leaves them alone. The pie is reason enough to be here. When you finish, the plate is streaked with filling and dusted with crumbs. You push it to the side, and the waitress clears it without comment. The fork goes into a bin to be washed. The plate goes into the same bin. And in the back, the dishwasher scrubs them clean so they can be used again. The cycle continues. More pies are cut. more plates are filled. The glass case is never empty for long. There is no smoking section because the entire diner is the smoking section. Ashtrays sit on the counter between the salt and pepper shakers. Men light up between bites. Women smoke while they wait for their check. The air is hazy by mid-morning, thick by lunchtime. No one complains. This is just how it is. The smell of smoke mixes with the smell of coffee and becomes part of the experience. The ashtrays are glass, heavy and square, with grooves around the rim to hold cigarettes. They are emptied frequently, but never fast enough to stay clean. Ash accumulates in the bottom, sometimes mixed with sugar or spilled coffee, turning into a gray sludge that stains the glass. The waitress empties them when they get too full, dumping the contents into a metal bin behind the counter. But within an hour, they are full again. Smoking is not occasional. It is constant. Men smoke while they eat. They take a bite of eggs, set down their fork, pick up their cigarette, take a drag, set it in the ashtray, pick up their fork again. The rhythm is automatic. The cigarette is part of the meal, as essential as the coffee or the toast. Some men smoke before they eat, lighting up as soon as they sit down, the cigarette dangling from their lips while they scan the menu. Others wait until after, smoking while they finish their coffee and read the paper. Women smoke too, though more discreetly. They hold their cigarettes delicately between two fingers, elbows resting on the counter, smoke drifting up toward the ceiling. They exhale slowly, carefully, as if the act of smoking requires more precision than it does for men. Some women use cigarette holders, long and elegant, but most just smoke plain cigarettes, the same brands the men smoke. Lucky Strike, Camel, Chesterfield. The cook smokes between orders. When there is a lull, when the carousel is empty and the grill is momentarily clear, he pulls a cigarette from the pack in his shirt pocket, lights it with a match, and takes 2 or 3 quick drags before stubbing it out and getting back to work. He does not finish the cigarette. He just takes enough to satisfy the craving and then moves on. The cigarette burns out in a small ashtray near the grill, forgotten. The waitress smokes on her breaks. She steps outside for 5 minutes, stands in the alley beside the diner, and smokes 1 cigarette all the way down to the filter. Then she comes back in, ties her apron back on, and resumes work. She does not smoke while she is working. She does not have time. But the moment her shift ends, she lights up before she even takes off her apron. The smoke accumulates over the course of the day. In the early morning, the air is relatively clear. By mid-morning, there is a faint haze near the ceiling. By lunchtime, the haze has descended to eye level. By evening, the air is thick with it, and when the door opens, the smoke drifts out into the street in visible clouds. The smell clings to everything. The curtains, the vinyl stools, the waitress's uniform, your clothes, your hair. You carry the smell with you when you leave. No one complains about the smoke. This is 1928. Smoking is normal. It is expected. Doctors smoke. Teachers smoke. Nurses smoke. Everyone smokes. The idea that smoke could be harmful, that secondhand smoke could affect your health, has not entered the public consciousness. Cigarettes are advertised as soothing, calming, even healthy. Some brands claim to be good for your throat. No one questions it. The smoke also serves a social function. Offering someone a cigarette is a gesture of friendliness. Asking for a light is an excuse to start a conversation. Smoking together creates a shared experience, a moment of quiet companionship. 2 strangers sitting at the counter might not speak, but if one offers the other a cigarette, a connection is made. The children who come into the diner breathe the smoke without comment. Their parents do not shield them from it. There is no separate section for families. If you bring your children to the diner, they sit at the counter or in a booth, and they breathe the same smoky air as everyone else. Some children develop a cough. Some do not. No one connects the cough to the smoke. The smoke is part of the atmosphere in a way that is hard to explain to someone who has never experienced it. It is not pleasant exactly, but it is familiar. It gives the diner a certain mood, a certain weight. The air feels occupied, inhabited, alive. Without the smoke, the diner would feel empty, even when full of people. The smoke fills the spaces between people. It makes the room feel smaller, more intimate, more enclosed. When you leave the diner, you step out into fresh air and your lungs expand. You take a deep breath and realize how much smoke you were breathing. Your eyes stop stinging. Your throat stops itching. You smell it on your clothes and decide whether to change or just live with it. Most people just live with it. The smell of the diner is the smell of having been somewhere, of having eaten, of having been among people. And in 1928, that is not something to wash away. The check comes on a small slip of paper. Handwritten. No tax, no tip line. You add it up yourself. Eggs, toast, coffee, bacon. 60 cents. You leave a nickel tip. The waitress scoops it up without looking and moves to the next customer. The whole transaction takes 30 seconds. You slide off the stool. Someone else takes your place before you reach the door. The check is written in pencil on a small pad of paper, the kind with a carbon copy underneath so the waitress can keep a record. She tallies the items in her head as she writes them down. 2 eggs, 15 cents. Bacon, 10 cents. Toast, 5 cents. Coffee, 10 cents. She adds them quickly without hesitation and tears the top sheet from the pad. The total is written at the bottom, circled once. 50 cents. She sets it on the counter beside your plate, face down, so you can finish your meal without feeling rushed. You do not ask for the check. It simply arrives when the waitress decides the meal is finished. Usually this happens when your plate is empty and your coffee cup is sitting idle. She places the check beside you and moves on. There is no ceremony, no leather folder, no pen presented on a small tray. Just a slip of paper with numbers on it. You pick up the check and read it. The handwriting is quick, almost illegible, but you can make out the items and the total. You do the math yourself to make sure it is correct. Not because you do not trust the waitress, but because that is what you do. 15 and 10 and 5 and 10. 50 cents. You reach into your pocket and pull out 2 quarters. They are heavy and silver, worn smooth from circulation. You set them on the counter beside the check. The tip is not written into the total. There is no line for it. You are expected to leave something, but the amount is up to you. A nickel is standard for a meal under $1. A dime if the service was good, or if you are feeling generous. Some people leave nothing. The waitress does not comment either way. She just clears the coins from the counter and slips them into her apron pocket, the tips mixing with the payment, so she will have to sort them out later. The waitress does not bring you change unless you ask for it. If you leave 2 quarters for a 50-cent meal, she assumes the extra quarter is her tip. If you want change, you say so. Give me back 15 cents. She nods, walks to the register, makes change, and brings it back. You take a dime and leave a nickel on the counter. She takes the nickel without comment. The register sits at the end of the counter near the door. It is old and mechanical, a brass and iron contraption with numbered keys and a crank on the side. The waitress walks over, opens the drawer with a key, and places the coins inside. She does not ring it up immediately. She waits until she has 3 or 4 checks, then rings them all at once to save time. The drawer opens with a loud ding that everyone in the diner can hear. The sound of commerce, the sound of completion. Some customers pay at the register instead of leaving money on the counter. They pick up their check, slide off the stool, and walk over to where the waitress is standing. They hand her the check and the money together. She makes change if needed, says thank you, and they leave. This method is less common, but equally acceptable. The diner does not care how you pay as long as you pay. There is no sales tax. The price on the menu is the price you pay. 50 cents means 50 cents. This makes the math simple. You do not need to calculate percentages or add extra. The transparency is part of the appeal. You know exactly what you are spending before you order. Tipping is expected, but not enforced. If you do not leave a tip, the waitress will not chase you down or make a scene. She will simply remember. And the next time you come in, the service might be a little slower. Your coffee might not get refilled as often. The diner has a long memory for bad tippers, but it also has a long memory for good ones. Leave a dime on a 50-cent meal, and the waitress will remember that too. Next time, your eggs might come a little faster. The whole transaction is fast. You finish eating, the check arrives, you leave money on the counter, you stand up and walk out. 30 seconds, maybe 45. There is no waiting for the waitress to process your payment. No waiting for her to bring back your change. You handle it yourself. The efficiency is built into the system. As you stand, you glance back at the counter. Your dishes are already being cleared. Your spot is already being wiped down. Another customer is already eyeing your stool, waiting for you to move so they can sit. The diner does not pause. It does not acknowledge your departure. You are here, you ate, you paid, and now you are gone. And that is exactly how it should be. Outside, you pat your pocket to make sure you still have money left. You spent 50 cents on breakfast. You have enough for lunch if you need it. The diner is cheap enough that you can afford to come back tomorrow. And you will. Because where else would you go? It sits in the corner, chrome and glass, glowing softly. A nickel buys you 3 songs. The selection is jazz, blues, and the occasional pop tune. Someone plays Ain't Misbehavin'. Someone else plays St. Louis Blues. The music is background noise, but it shapes the mood. Slow songs in the morning, upbeat tunes at lunch. Late at night, it plays sad songs for the lonely people who have nowhere else to go. The jukebox is beautiful in the way machinery sometimes is. The front panel is glass, lit from behind with amber bulbs, and through the glass you can see the mechanism inside. Records stacked in neat rows, a mechanical arm that slides sideways to select one, lifts it, and places it on the turntable. The whole process is visible. You can watch the machine work, watch the record drop, watch the needle descend. It is hypnotic. The cabinet is chrome and wood, polished until it gleams. The buttons are round and backlit, arranged in rows, each one labeled with a song title and artist. The labels are small and sometimes hard to read in the dim light of the diner, so you lean in close, squinting at the names. Duke Ellington, Louis Armstrong, Bessie Smith, Fats Waller. These are the standards, the songs everyone knows. You slide a nickel into the slot, and the machine comes to life. A soft mechanical hum. The coin drops with a satisfying clink. The buttons light up, waiting for your selection. You press 3 of them, choosing your songs carefully. The first song starts almost immediately. The mechanical arm slides to the right, selects a record, lifts it with precision, and places it on the turntable. The needle descends. There is a brief crackle, then music. The sound quality is not perfect. The speakers are small and tinny, and the needle picks up every scratch and imperfection on the record. But it does not matter. The music fills the diner, mixing with the clatter of dishes and the hiss of the grill. It is not loud enough to dominate. It is just present, a layer of sound beneath everything else. In the morning, the jukebox plays quiet songs, instrumentals mostly, something smooth and mellow to ease people into the day. No one wants loud, brassy jazz at 6 in the morning. The cook does not want it. The waitress does not want it. The customers do not want it. So the jukebox plays soft piano or slow trumpet, something that blends into the background and does not demand attention. By lunchtime, the mood shifts. The diner is busier, louder, and the music changes to match. Upbeat swing tunes, songs with rhythm and energy. The mechanical arm moves faster, cycling through selections as different customers feed the machine nickels and punch in their choices. The music becomes part of the chaos. It does not calm anything down. It just adds to the noise. Late at night, after midnight, the jukebox plays sadness. Torch songs, blues, slow, mournful ballads about love and loss and loneliness. The songs match the mood of the people who are still awake at that hour. The factory worker nursing his coffee, the cab driver staring out the window, the woman in the evening gown who looks like she has been crying. They do not choose happy songs. They choose songs that understand them. Sometimes the jukebox breaks. The mechanical arm jams. The needle skips. The record gets stuck in a groove and plays the same 3 seconds over and over until someone walks over and jiggles the machine. When this happens, the diner feels wrong. The absence of music is noticeable. The space feels emptier, colder. The waitress calls the repairman and he comes within a day or two, opens the back panel, and fixes whatever broke. The jukebox is too important to stay broken for long. Not everyone plays the jukebox. Some people prefer the quiet. They sit at the counter and eat in silence, ignoring the machine entirely. But enough people play it that the music is almost constant. One song ends, another begins. The machine is never silent for more than a few minutes before someone else feeds it a nickel. The songs on the jukebox change slowly. Every few months, the owner replaces a few records with newer releases. But the core selection stays the same. The standards, the classics, the songs people want to hear over and over. Ain't Misbehavin', St. Louis Blues, Body and Soul. These songs define the diner as much as the eggs and coffee. The jukebox also serves as a social signal. If you play a song, you are announcing something about yourself. You are saying, "This is what I want to hear right now." Sometimes other people approve, sometimes they do not. But no one complains out loud. You paid your nickel. You get to choose your songs. That is the deal. And when you leave the diner, the music follows you for a moment. The door opens and the sound spills out into the street. A brief burst of jazz or blues, and then the door closes and it is gone. But the melody lingers in your head. You hum it as you walk, and hours later you will still be humming it, unable to shake the tune. That is what the jukebox does. It plants songs in your brain and leaves them there. If the counter is for solo diners and quick meals, the booths are for couples and groups. Red vinyl seats worn smooth from years of use. Small tables with laminate tops. You slide in across from someone and suddenly the meal feels more intimate. The booths are for dates, for business meetings, for friends catching up. But most people still choose the counter. It is faster, more honest, less complicated. The booths line the wall opposite the counter, 6 or 7 of them in a row. Each one is a small enclosed space, private in a way the counter is not. You sit facing your companion, separated by a narrow table. The seats are red vinyl, padded but firm, and they squeak slightly when you slide in. The backs are high enough to block your view of the booths on either side, creating the illusion of privacy, even though you are surrounded by other people. The tables are small, just big enough for 2 plates and 2 coffee cups. The surface is laminate, patterned to look like wood grain, and it is scratched from years of knives and forks scraping across it. The edges are trimmed with chrome that has dulled over time. Each table has the same items: napkin dispenser, sugar jar, salt and pepper shakers, ashtray. Everything you need within reach. Couples take the booths. Young couples on dates holding hands across the table, speaking in low voices. Married couples who have been together so long they do not need to speak at all, just eating in comfortable silence. The booth creates a sense of occasion. Sitting across from someone, making eye contact, sharing a meal, it feels more formal than sitting side by side at the counter. It feels like a deliberate choice. Businessmen take the booths too. Two men in suits, papers spread across the table, discussing contracts or deals or whatever men in suits discuss. They order coffee and eggs and barely touch the food, too focused on their conversation. The waitress refills their coffee without interrupting. She knows better than to intrude. Business happens in these booths. Quiet, important business. Families take the booths when they come in, though families are rare in diners. The counter is not safe for small children, and the stools are too high for them to climb. So families slide into booths, parents on one side, children on the other. The children are restless, swinging their legs under the table, playing with the sugar packets, spilling their milk. The parents look tired. They order quickly and eat quickly and leave as soon as the children start getting loud. The booths are slower than the counter. The waitress has to walk farther to take your order, farther to deliver your food, farther to refill your coffee. The service is still fast, but not as fast. And because you are sitting across from someone, because there is conversation happening, the meal lasts longer. You do not eat and leave in 20 minutes. You linger. You talk. You order a second cup of coffee. The booth encourages this. The vinyl seats are worn smooth in places where people have been sitting for years. The padding has compressed, and if you shift your weight, you can feel the wooden frame beneath. The vinyl is also cracked in places, small splits where the fabric has given way, and sometimes stuffing pokes through. The diner does not replace the booths. They are functional enough. The cracks do not matter. There is a small jukebox selector at each booth, a metal box mounted on the wall with buttons and a coin slot. You can play the jukebox without getting up. Just drop in a nickel and press your selections. But most people do not use them. They are too close to the speakers, and the music is too loud when you are sitting right next to it. The selectors are there for convenience, but no one finds them convenient. The booths offer a different kind of anonymity than the counter. At the counter, you are anonymous because no one is looking at you. You are just another body on a stool. In the booths, you are anonymous because you are enclosed. The high backs create a barrier. The people in the booth next to you cannot see you unless they lean out. You are hidden in plain sight. Some conversations happen in booths that would never happen at the counter. Confessions, arguments, marriage proposals, breakups. The booths provide just enough privacy for these moments. Not complete privacy, the waitress still comes by, other customers still walk past, but enough. Enough that you can say something difficult and not feel like the entire diner is listening. But most people still prefer the counter. The booths are for when you have company, when you have time, when you want to sit and talk. The counter is for when you are alone, when you are in a hurry, when you just need to eat and go. The booths are fine. The booths are nice. But the counter is the heart of the diner. Everyone knows it. You do not know the man sitting next to you, but you overhear his conversation with the cook. Something about a job interview. Something about his kid starting school. You do not say anything, but you listen. And in listening, you feel less alone. The diner is full of these small moments, strangers existing side by side, not talking, but connected. It is a kind of companionship that does not require words. The connection is accidental. You did not come to the diner to meet people. You came to eat. But the counter forces proximity. The stools are close together. The conversations around you are audible. You cannot help but overhear. And in overhearing, you become part of something larger than yourself. Not a community exactly, but a shared experience. The man to your left is talking to the cook. His voice is low, but you catch pieces of it. He has a job interview this afternoon. He is nervous. He has not worked in 3 months. His wife is worried. The cook nods as he flips eggs, makes a sympathetic sound, says something about times being hard for everyone. The man agrees. He stirs his coffee. He does not drink it. He just stirs. You do not turn your head. You do not acknowledge that you are listening, but you are, and you feel something for this man. Not pity exactly, more like recognition. You have been nervous before. You have worried about money. You understand what he is feeling, even if you do not know his name. To your right, a woman speaks quietly to the waitress. She is asking about the cook's daughter, the one who got married last month. How is she doing? Is she happy? The waitress smiles, says yes, very happy. They bought a little house in Queens. The woman nods, says that is wonderful. Says she remembers when the daughter was just a girl. The waitress refills her coffee and moves on. The woman sits alone again, but for a moment she was connected. These small exchanges happen constantly at the counter. The cook knows the regulars. The waitress knows their lives. And because the counter is small and everyone sits close together, those lives bleed into each other. You hear about someone's sick mother, someone's new grandchild, someone's trouble with the landlord. You do not participate. You just listen. And somehow that is enough. There is also the connection of shared routine. You come in every Tuesday. The man 3 stools down comes in every Tuesday. You do not speak, but you recognize each other. A nod, a brief glance, the acknowledgement that you are both here again, doing the same thing you did last week. There is comfort in that repetition, in knowing that someone else is also following the same pattern. The diner creates connection through proximity and repetition. You sit next to the same people week after week. You overhear the same conversations. You see the same faces. And over time, those faces become familiar. You do not know their names, but you know their routines. You know what they order. You know what time they arrive. You know them in a way that is shallow but real. Sometimes the connection becomes more than passive. Sometimes someone at the counter speaks to you, asks if you can pass the salt, asks if you have a light, asks if the eggs are any good today. And you answer. A few words, nothing more. But in that exchange, a wall dissolves. You are no longer 2 strangers. You are 2 people who have spoken. The cook facilitates these connections without meaning to. He talks to everyone, asks how they are doing, makes a joke, complains about the heat. His voice is the thread that ties the counter together. He talks to the man on the left, then the woman on the right, and suddenly the whole counter is part of the same conversation. Not actively participating, but listening, absorbing, connected through proximity to the cook's voice. The waitress does this too. She moves down the line, refilling coffee, and she says something to each person. Just a word or two. How are you? Sleep well. Cold out there today. These tiny interactions add up. They make the counter feel less anonymous, less cold. You are not just sitting next to strangers. You are sitting next to people who have been acknowledged, who have been seen. There is also the connection of shared humanity. You are all here for the same reason. You are all hungry. You all need coffee. You are all starting your day, or ending your shift, or filling the gap between one obligation and another. The diner's where that need gets met. And in meeting that need together, in the same space, at the same time, you become connected. This connection is fragile. It does not survive outside the diner. You will not see these people on the street and stop to chat. You will not invite them to your home. The connection exists only within these walls, only at this counter, only during the time you are both sitting here. But while it lasts, it is real. When you stand to leave, the man to your left is still stirring his coffee. The woman to your right is still eating her eggs. You do not say goodbye. You just stand, leave your money on the counter, and walk out. The door jingles. The cold air hits your face. And you carry with you the knowledge that for 20 minutes you were not alone. You were part of something. A small, temporary, fragile something. But something nonetheless. You never see him, but you hear him. The clatter of plates, the rush of water, the hiss of steam. He works in the back, scrubbing and stacking, keeping the kitchen moving. Without him, the diner stops. But no one thanks him. No one sees him. He is invisible labor, essential labor, and he works faster than anyone else in the building. The dishwashing station is in the back, through a doorway behind the cook's station, in a small room that stays hot and wet all day. There is a deep steel sink, a drying rack, and a counter stacked with dirty dishes waiting to be cleaned. The dishwasher stands at the sink for 8 hours, sometimes 10, his hands submerged in scalding water, scrubbing plates with a stiff brush until they shine. He is usually the first person to arrive at the diner. He comes in at 5 in the morning, before the cook, before the waitress, before the sun comes up. He unlocks the back door, ties on a rubber apron, and starts filling the sink. By the time the diner opens at 6, he has already washed the dishes that were left soaking overnight. The diner cannot open without clean plates. That is his job. To make sure there are always clean plates. The work is brutal. The water is so hot it turns his hands red. The steam rises in clouds, filling the small room until the air is thick and hard to breathe. His shirt is soaked with sweat and dishwater within an hour. The dishes come in constantly, plates stacked high, mugs nested inside each other, silverware jumbled in plastic bins. He washes them in batches, scrubbing each one individually, rinsing it under a spray nozzle, and stacking it on the drying rack. The noise is constant. Plates clatter against the steel sink. Water rushes from the faucet. Silverware clinks as he tosses it into a clean bin. The sounds carry through the doorway into the main diner, a steady percussion that tells everyone the dishwasher is working. When the noise stops, when the clatter ceases, something is wrong. Either he has caught up, which almost never happens, or he has collapsed, which has happened twice. He does not speak much English. Or maybe he does, and no one has bothered to find out. The cook gives him orders and gestures. Point to the stack of plates. Point to the drying rack. The dishwasher nods and gets to work. He does not need instructions. He has been doing this for years. He knows what needs to be done. The cook depends on him completely. If the dishwasher falls behind, if the clean plates run out, the entire kitchen stops. The cook cannot plate food without plates. The waitress cannot serve customers. The diner grinds to a halt, so the dishwasher never falls behind. He works faster when the orders pile up. He works through his breaks. He works until the last customer leaves and the last dish is clean. No one tips him. The customers do not know he exists. They tip the waitress because she brings them food. They do not think about the person who washes the plate the food came on. The dishwasher makes less money than the cook, less than the waitress, barely more than nothing. But he shows up every day because he needs the work, because his family needs the money, because he does not have other options. Sometimes the waitress brings him coffee. She pours a cup, walks it back to the dishwashing station, and sets it on the counter beside the sink. The dishwasher nods his thanks. He does not stop working. He picks up the cup with wet hands, takes a sip, sets it back down, and keeps scrubbing. The coffee goes cold before he finishes it. It does not matter. The gesture is what matters. The dishwasher eats alone, standing at the counter in the back, wolfing down a plate of eggs and toast in 5 minutes flat. He eats whatever the cook gives him, usually leftovers or something that did not come out right. A burned pancake, eggs that broke in the pan. He does not complain. He just eats. Food is food. He is grateful to get it. By the end of his shift, his hands are raw. The skin is pruned and red from the hot water, cracked at the knuckles, sometimes bleeding. He does not bandage them. He just rinses them off, unties his apron, and leaves through the back door. The next morning, he will be back. His hands will hurt all over again. But the diner needs him. So he comes back. When the diner closes for the night, the last sound you hear is the dishwasher finishing the final load. The clatter of the last plate, the rush of the last rinse, the hiss of the last bit of steam, and then silence. The kitchen is clean. The diner's ready for tomorrow. And the dishwasher walks home through the dark streets, invisible as always. Between 7 and 9, the diner transforms. Every stool is full. Every booth is packed. The waitress moves at double speed. The cook works 3 orders at once. The line spills out the door. Men in suits, women in heels, workers in coveralls, all waiting for eggs and coffee before heading to their jobs. It is chaos, but it is controlled chaos, and by 9:30 it is over. The diner exhales. At 6:30 the diner is calm. A few early risers sit at the counter, sipping coffee, reading the paper. The waitress moves slowly, refilling cups, wiping down the counter. The cook has time to breathe between orders. But that calm is deceptive. It is the eye of the storm. In 30 minutes, everything will change. The first wave hits at 7. Factory workers getting off the night shift. They come in tired, hungry, smelling of oil and sweat. They take the stools at the far end of the counter and order big breakfasts. 2 eggs, bacon, hash browns, toast, coffee. The orders start stacking up on the carousel. The cook begins working faster. The waitress begins moving faster. The machine is warming up. By 7:15, the second wave arrives. Office workers, shop clerks, secretaries, people who need to be at their desk by 8 or 8:30. They do not have time to linger. They sit down, order quickly, eat quickly, and leave. The turnover at the counter accelerates. A stool empties and fills within seconds. The waitress barely has time to wipe it down before someone else sits. At 7:30, the rush reaches full intensity. Every stool is occupied. Every booth is full. The line at the door is 6 people deep, maybe 8, and it is not moving fast enough. People stand just inside the door, waiting, watching for someone to stand up so they can claim the stool. The bell above the door jingles constantly. In, out, in, out. The noise level rises. Conversations overlap. Silverware clatters. The cook rings the bell. Order up, order up, order up. The waitress is everywhere at once. She takes an order at one end of the counter, delivers a plate at the other, refills coffee in the middle, all in a continuous loop that never stops. Her order pad is full of scribbled notes. Her apron pockets bulge with coins and crumpled bills. She does not have time to empty them. She moves on muscle memory now, her body navigating the narrow space behind the counter without conscious thought. Pour, deliver, take order, Deliver, refill, clear. The rhythm is relentless. The cook is in the zone. His hands move in a blur. Crack, flip, slide. Crack, flip, slide. He has 6 orders going at once, staggered so they finish in sequence. Eggs for table 3, pancakes for the counter, bacon for booth 2. He does not look at the order slips anymore. He just glances at them and memorizes. The carousel spins constantly, new orders appearing faster than he can clear the old ones. Sweat drips down his face. He does not wipe it away. He does not have time. The noise is overwhelming. Plates clatter. The grill hisses. Coffee pours. The cash register dings. Voices rise and fall in overlapping waves. Someone asks for the check. Someone else asks for more coffee. The waitress nods to both, but can only respond to one at a time. She prioritizes. The person asking for the check gets it first. They are ready to leave. The stool needs to turn over. The dishwasher in the back is drowning. Plates pile up faster than he can wash them. He works at maximum speed, scrubbing, rinsing, stacking, but it is not enough. The clean plates on the drying rack disappear as fast as he puts them there. The waitress grabs them still wet, too hot to touch, and brings them to the cook. The cook plates the food and rings the bell. The cycle continues. By 8:15, the rush is still going strong. If anything, it has intensified. The door opens and closes so often that the cold air from outside mixes with the warm air inside, creating drafts that make the napkins flutter. People at the counter hunch over their plates, elbows close, protecting their space. The stools are full. The aisles are full. The diner is operating at maximum capacity. And then slowly it begins to ease. By 8:45, the line at the door is thinned. People are finishing their meals and leaving. The stools empty and fill, but the turnover slows. The cook clears the last order from the carousel and takes a breath. The waitress refills her coffee pot and pauses for 5 seconds, just 5, to drink a sip of water. By 9:30 it is over. The rush has passed. The diner is half empty again. A few stragglers sit at the counter, finishing their coffee, reading the paper. The waitress wipes down the counter more slowly now. The cook leans against the wall, smoking a cigarette, his shirt soaked through with sweat. The dishwasher catches up on the backlog of plates. The diner exhales. The morning rush lasts 2 hours. 2 hours of chaos. 2 hours of maximum effort. And then it is done. The diner returns to its normal pace, the calm after the storm. The waitress counts her tips during the lull, pulling crumpled bills and loose coins from her apron pockets. It is more than she will make the rest of the day combined. The morning rush is brutal, but it is also where the money is made. It is quiet now. The counter is gone. The stools have been unscrewed from the floor and sold for scrap. The griddle sits cold in a salvage yard somewhere, rusted and forgotten. The glass door no longer jingles when it opens, because there is no door. The building was torn down in 1976, or maybe 78, and replaced with a parking lot. The waitress retired decades ago. The cook is gone. The dishwasher disappeared without anyone learning his name. But if you were there, if you sat at that counter even once, you carry it with you still. You carry the smell of coffee brewing at 6 in the morning, the sound of eggs hitting the hot grill, the weight of a chipped ceramic mug in your hands, the feeling of sitting shoulder to shoulder with strangers and somehow feeling less alone. You carry the memory of a place that asked nothing of you except 50 cents and gave you everything you needed in return. The 1920s diner was not fancy. It was not innovative. It did not try to be anything other than what it was. A counter, a cook, a waitress, hot food, strong coffee, a place to sit when the world outside felt too cold or too fast or too indifferent. It was ordinary by design, and that ordinariness was its genius. It fed factory workers before dawn shifts and salesmen between appointments. It stayed open all night for the people who had nowhere else to go. It served breakfast at 3 in the afternoon because hunger does not follow a schedule. It treated everyone the same because a customer was a customer and everyone deserved eggs. The diner understood something we have forgotten, that feeding people is not just about calories. It is about connection, about routine, about creating a space where you can exist without explanation, where you do not have to be impressive or interesting or even awake. You just have to be hungry. And that is enough. We do not have places like that anymore. We have drive-thrus where you never leave your car. We have apps where you order from home and food appears at your door in a paper bag. We have restaurants where you sit across from someone and perform the ritual of dining. But we do not have counters. We do not have stools bolted to the floor. We do not have waitresses who know your order before you say it. We do not have the diner. And maybe that is fine. Maybe the world moved on and the diner became obsolete, and that is just how progress works. Maybe efficiency and convenience matter more than connection. Maybe sitting alone in your car, eating a hamburger from a paper wrapper is just as good as sitting at a counter surrounded by strangers. Or maybe we lost something. Maybe we lost the bell above the door that announced you were welcome. Maybe we lost the cook who worked the grill for 30 years and knew exactly how long to fry an egg. Maybe we lost the waitress who called you honey even though she did not know your name. Maybe we lost the dishwasher in the back who kept everything running and never got thanked. Maybe we lost the idea that a public space could be humble and cheap and still be sacred. The diner is gone now. It has been gone for a long time. But if you close your eyes, you can still see it. The chrome counter, the red vinyl stools, the cook in his white apron, the waitress with her coffee pot, the jukebox glowing in the corner, the steam rising from a plate of scrambled eggs. The whole thing, preserved in memory, as vivid as the day you first walked through that door. And maybe that is enough. Maybe memory is where the diner lives now. Not on street corners or in guidebooks or in buildings you can visit, but in the minds of people who were there, who sat at the counter, who drank the coffee, who left a nickel tip and walked out into the morning carrying the smell of bacon on their clothes. You were there. You remember. And as long as you remember, the diner is not completely gone. Somewhere, in a place that exists only in your mind, the bell still jingles. The coffee is still hot. The waitress is still pouring. The cook is still flipping eggs. And there is a stool waiting for you at the counter, third from the left, right where you always sat. The diner is closed now, but the door is still open, and you can still walk in any time you want. All you have to do is remember.